A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Spectrum Extra Friday, a time when we review the major events of the week. We'll be looking at the post-election situation in our country. 2 weeks ago, we held the presidential and parliamentary elections. There are other elections that followed: local government, workers, youth, and youth parliamentary representatives. And we also saw the NRM dominating those particular elections. And of course, the discussion about what happened in the elections, in the presidential and parliamentary elections, still continues. We're also seeing a number of petitions for recounts that are going on. For instance, for Masaka District Woman MP, there is a recount going on now, ordered by the courts there. And we have seen in other situations, the courts actually rejecting, applications to have recounts carried out in different, constituencies. Now, President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM are still celebrating. Recently, he described their victory as a major political achievement. The opposition continued to say the process was proud, and in the aftermath, we have seen one of the presidential candidates, Robert Kyagulanyi Sentam, going into what people are calling hiding. His home has also still been cordoned off by security. The government have maintained that they do not intend to arrest or prosecute him. But on the other hand, we have seen comments that come in from the CDF, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, through an X account that is attributed to him, in which he continues to indicate that they are looking for Robert Kyagulanyi. And we also know his wife got caught up in a certain situation and caused an uproar, including from human rights activists who say that the security forces went a little bit too far. The government has promised an investigation and to bring to book any security officer who might have acted in an unprofessional manner. We also know two deputy new presidents are still also missing. The security forces have denied that they have them in their possession, despite accounts by their family members that they were picked by armed people using drones. We know another NUP leader, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, faces terrorism charges, and we know several NUP supporters have also been in jail, others have been bailed out. And there's a group that is pushing for political dialogue and saying there is need to talk about these things and probably address both governance and election-related challenges in our country. And so, as we speak now, there are so many discussions going on. There are people who are sitting in corners. There are those who are plotting to become speakers of parliament. There are those who are plotting to become ministers ahead of the swearing-in of President Yoweri Museveni, expected in May this year. Inside parliament, we know, finally we know how the parliament will be composed. That's after workers and youth elected their people, but also the UPDF also has finally elected their representatives. NRM still enjoys dominance there, followed by independents. Then NUP comes in at the third position. Attrition rate was 60%. Most of the incumbents in that category lost. And some people have been talking about the quality of the house and what is going to happen there. Already we are seeing this story in which each MP is going to receive 315 million shillings to buy a new vehicle. Now, this is according to the privileges of MPs that every beginning of a tenure of parliament, MPs are facilitated, but this time around the money has gone up a little bit to 315 million shillings. I have a panel of four to discuss these issues in detail. Let me introduce them. Retired Major Paula Awich, Director of External Affairs, NRM Secretary. He's a lawyer and human rights defender. Good evening, Retired Major. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum.
Pleasure too. Good evening to our listeners and good evening to my distinguished colleagues who are here.
Well, thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Also in the studio, Ms. Yvonne Pambala, social justice lawyer, former presidential aspirant. Good evening. Thank you so much for attending this panel.
Good evening. Good evening to all our listeners. I'm glad to be here, especially following a kind of lockdown we've had for the past couple of days where internet was shut off. I think it's really important that now we're getting to recommunicate with people and also have these conversations because there's so much that we need to say.
All right. Also in studio, Mr. Ronald Egesa, political and business strategist. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for coming over.
Good evening, Kenneth. Good evening, fellow panelists, and good evening to listeners and viewers.
Imam Eid Kasozi, lecturer at Islamic University in Uganda, member of the Justice Forum Party, farmer. Good evening, Imam. Always a pleasure having you on this platform.
Good evening, viewers and listeners, and good evening, my colleagues on the panel.
Well, my name is Kenneth Anderson Lupago, your host, and I do encourage you to be part of this discussion. Share with us your thoughts, question, or comment via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. Well, gentlemen and lady, let's kick off this discussion, and I want to begin with Imam Id Kasozi. We are in a post-election period. You're conversant with what has been happening. Let's begin with your overall picture of the situation and whether we are making progress as a country, looking at what has happened after the previous elections we have had in this country.
Progress as a country, progress in which direction, and progress in which activity. All those are questions that we need to answer. However, that notwithstanding, we congratulate all of you who participated in the elections, irrespective of the results you got. Probably it has taught you a lesson on what to do next if you want to win or if you are preparing to lose. You must now begin to assess. And the assessment, depending on the position we are vying for, you may need some technocrats to sit down and help you analyze these results fully, because they will also help you to control for some variables, and then they will tell you what ought to have been. To me, as I said, first of all, we had a bloated voters register, a population of 45.9 million people, with 21.6 million people as voters. It doesn't make any sense. I said before, and I want to reiterate it, UBOS's statistics say the population of Uganda, according to the 2024 census, 55% of that population is below the age of 17, and therefore there's no way we could have. According to my calculation, approximately more than 3 million people, or 4, were added on the register, and that result showed itself after the voting. People are talking about low voter turnout. The reason is because the voters were not there. If they were there, they would be reflected. Others will argue.
There was an argument that these are mainly young people who are going to be voters for the first time.
Whether young or not, I have not excluded them. I have said, I have told you, the age limit for voting in Uganda is 18. All those below 18 are not supposed to vote. Okay? So if they were included in the register, it was wrong. But fortunately, the voting pattern explains it. That's why they tell you over 10.3 million people did not turn up for voting.
And President Yoweri Museveni says most of those are his people.
Those who did not vote? No way.
The ones who were told that
it is actually those who are against him are the ones largely that did not vote. Why? Because they were somehow discouraged by those who were competing. Even the one they had hope in, he publicly expressed that even when I win, I will not be announced. Okay? And two, because of the squabbles within his institution and him versus the other political parties, they did not turn up for voting. Supposing we agree that the voting, the registered voters were 17 million, which I think should be the right one. Even with that one, if all of them had turned up to vote, Museveni would lose. How? He got 7.9 million. Kyagulanyi got 2.7 million. The others got about 500,000. So 500,000 plus 12.7, that is 3.2. So if you go by my 17, all the 6 that did not turn up to vote were against the president. They would have voted. So you add 3.2 plus 6, you make 9.2. Museveni got 7.9. He would have lost. But because we were diffranchised, and the majority of the people, I know very many people who didn't vote. I voted all. And out of all the votes I cast, only one person won. The rest did not. because, but I'm satisfied. Reason, I vote a person because of his quality, not because of the mass following that somebody has.
All right. Imam,
So-
hold it there. Let's move around the table. And I want to go to you.
I wanted to answer your
I'll
question.
come back to you.
Okay.
Let's just do this opening remarks. Retired Major Paula Awich. We're in a post-election period, but I want you to share your quick thoughts on what transpired in the election. I know on behalf of the NRM, you were in charge of the North.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy that I'm here today. It is my first appearance since the election.
Or in 2026.
Why I'm happy is because we have been telling you here, one, that the people are the judge, they will judge us, and two, that we have the support, and it has come to pass. So I'm here for the first time. I'm so happy. In my school culture, in Terry School, should have appeared here with my collar up. For us, when we used to have good results, and in our school results
Let
was.
me do it for you.
I was about to suggest that we can remove his jacket and put his collar up.
And
So
for,
that character comes.
and for us in our
Show
school,
happiness.
Hey.
success was not individual success.
Mm.
Even if you got 8 in 8,
Mm.
it wouldn't make much sense. For us, we wanted the entire school to pass. So when the result would come, when it is good, and we had a lion there, you know, our symbol is a lion, connected to a roar of a lion, of a loudspeaker, the type that the Muslims use to wake up people in the morning. So the lion would roar. I repeat, collective success. So ideally, I should have come here with my collar up for this, because we have been saying in this particular forum that, colleagues, the judges are the people, and the people will judge. And as far as we are concerned, we have met the aspirations and the expectations. Let's wait, the people will judge. The people have judged. Now, about the thoughts about the figures, the challenges, I mean, who could have won that, to me, that really, what Imam is saying, does not qualify for me.
It's secondary.
Yeah, because even now, even if you take a district like Nakapiripirit, follow it, go there, said you got this, I want to see village by village, what did you bring? You will find exactly that.
We will find people there.
You will find people, those are the people who voted. This was a transparent election. So I am happy that we are here. How I wish that we have time without our colleagues who have lost being living in a position like I hear that this and this is missing, the other one is missing. How I wish they are there, and we meet like at a radio talk show like this, or we meet on the street and greet and say, it is past, let's wait for another time. I would be very happy. So that is our view, that the election was transparent, it happened, it passed. I really want peace now.
All right. Let's go to Mr. Gesa very quickly. What do you recount about this particular process compared to what you've seen before?
We have had these jokes for how many? This was the 7th round. You know, I've been telling you that it is the world's most expensive joke. This Ugandan election facade. So I want to just do some comparative analysis. 1996, President Museveni wins with 75.5%. I think that's the adjusted result. They first announced 74.6, then they adjusted it to 75.5 with all polling stations reporting. It was not difficult to see his popularity. I was one of those young people who were singing Museveni Alete Mirembe during that time. He did not have to exert, military presence in Kampala and or any part of Uganda, despite the fact that we had just come off the Herbert Tonga rebel activity in Kampala area. We had come off. We still had a war in northern Uganda. In fact, presidential candidates were campaigning, being escorted by the military. Yeah. So you could not see that he's trying to safeguard his victory with a strong military presence. Now, the second highest percentage is the one of 2026, isn't it? How come that the second highest percentage is being safeguarded by the military? The country is a war zone. This is like a Somalia. When you saw the military presence.
You lie.
No, I'm not lying. Kenneth, I would come out of home and you see the military patrolling the whole of, Kampala. Everywhere you went. Military was moving informations. Even these other fellows, they called Afande Boots. I learned about that name in Mayuge.
But we have been told about that
now,
from the start.
Are you telling me that President Museveni's government faced a serious threat, more serious, from Robert Kyagulanyi's rhetoric of saying, protest vote, than he faced from the rebel activity of LRA, which had cut off much of northern Uganda, than the Herbert Itongas who were involved in urban terrorism, and then you had ADF also, around that same time? Are you telling me that the current rhetoric of Kyagulanyi, of Kakume, Kalonde, blah, 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 it was more of a threat to the government of President Museveni than the 1996 situation? Yet he appeared more comfortable.
I may not be in position to tell you, but we were told from the start
in short, what I'm
that
telling
this
you,
will be an intelligence-led operation.
No, this was a joke. It is the worst election that I have ever seen or read about in Uganda's history. But for me, I think what I will talk about later is that what I have learned from this whole exercise is that we need to go back to Article 1 of the Ugandan Constitution, sub-Article 4, which says the people shall express their will and consent on who shall govern them and how they should be governed through regular, free and fair elections of their representatives or through referenda. So I want to emphasize the part of how. I think now we should dump this whole thing of electioneering and now concentrate on, can we have referenda on going back to revisiting our constitution? We need to revisit our governance system. Can we explore alternatives such as a collegiate presidency? That's the only way we are going to stop the Museveni monarchy, because the monarchy now is in full flow.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Yvonne and hear her thoughts on this particular issue. Yvonne, you've heard from your colleagues here, but you're also an active participant in the election process. Your recount, what do you recount from this process?
Well, I'm going to recall a statement that President Museveni made recently, where he said that previously his 2.7 million votes had been stolen by opposition, and that this time he had to make sure that he brings the biometric machines to make sure they do the proper job of making sure his votes are not stolen again. And it's very interesting to say that, because we know that during the presidential and parliamentary elections, majority of those machines failed in most of the polling stations. So it brings around a big controversy and a huge question whether we should go back and recount the votes because the machines didn't work. So this time, who stole the votes? You know, if last time we didn't have the machines and 2.7 million votes were stolen by opposition, this time when the machines were not working but he's satisfied with the result, where exactly is it lying that, he either won or lost, or it's depending on whether Bobby Wine is hiding that maybe that they are saying that they've won? I don't get it, and I don't get why he made that statement, but well knowing that the machines didn't work, and he continues to say that previously opposition had stolen his votes, and now this time that he put machines, that they had done the right thing. We need to understand what the politics around that was. I think the voter apathy that happened during this particular election is because there was an intentional miscommunication from the different parties that were meant to be doing the political awareness. We see the Electoral Commission was having a back and forth with some other arms of government, where instead of having clear communication, for example, in terms of polling stations, the voters registry, there was a lot of miscommunication. There was so much confusion. And I think it's intentional. I think we talked about it last time when we were here, that confusion was only serving a particular purpose, which was to, serve the powers that be. Because what kind of shabby system then is going to serve opposition when it comes to us pushing back? So that confusion was intentional. Because people ended up not turning up to vote. They were confused about where they are supposed to vote from. They were confused about how many meters they're supposed to stay off from polling stations. There was a lot of confusion that seemed very intentional to drive away. People were doing their own measurements. But now for majority of people don't like all that chaos of trying to determine where you're voting from, how many meters you're supposed to stay away, or whether you're supposed to be at the polling station or not. It definitely led to that apathy. They couldn't turn up to vote. And when you couple it with the military presence all over the city, I do not think anyone wanted to face that violence. And we need to be very clear that on the side of the incumbent, that was intentional, because I do not think they wanted people to turn up to vote. Again, they were stuffing a lot of ballot boxes, and they already knew how many votes they were going to get from different polling stations. So clearly, it would have worked against them if majority of these people turned up to vote. So we need to look at all of it in a holistic way, and we see how majority of this was intentionally done to make sure that Ugandans stay on the confusing end of receiving most of this awareness, but also there's so many political games at play. Museveni telling us that his votes were stolen in the previous elections because machines were not there. Now they are mandatory.
But you also had the opposition candidate tell people, even if I win, they will not announce me. Some people have said that kept away even some of his supporters.
So if he's saying that, then I don't understand why he's saying all these statements. I don't understand why Museveni is saying all these statements, because if he knew he's going to win, why is he saying these statements about machines, about his votes being stolen in previous elections? Why is he saying all this? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that they're going the extra mile to put all this military on the roads. They're going the extra mile to switch off the internet. They're going the extra mile to beat up opposition and arrest them and throw them in jail if he knows he's going to win the election at the end of the day.
All right, Spectrum X on Radio 1 FM 90. We're reviewing the major events of the week. I have a panel of 4. Retired Major Paula Awich, Director of External Affairs at the NRM Party Secretariat, Ms. Yvonne Pambala, Social Justice Lawyer, Mr. Ronald Egesa, Political and Business Strategist, and Imam Idi Kasosi, Lecturer at Islamic University in Uganda. We're going to go for a short break. When we return, we'll open up the debate and look at the key issues that are trending as we enter into this post-election period, a time when some people are saying we need to be careful because certain things can go wrong. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. Keep your comments coming by the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. Well, we're glad that you're still with us on Spectrum Extra, reviewing the major events of the week. We are looking at a number of issues, including the post-election period. We'll also be looking at how Parliament has taken shape and some of the issues that are already coming in out there, even before the MPs are sworn in. I have a panel of 4, and it includes Imam Idi Kasosi, lecturer at Islamic University in Uganda. He's a member of the Justice Forum Party. He's also a farmer. Mr. Ronald Egesa, political and business strategist. Ms. Yvonne Pambara, social justice lawyer, former presidential aspirant. Retired Major Paula Awich, Director of External Affairs at the NRM Party Secretariat, is a lawyer and a human rights defender. Now, gentlemen, let's open up this discussion. We went through an election, a winner was declared, the opposition came out and said no, and we have this situation where one of the presidential candidates is in hiding, and of course the statements have been going left, right, and center. The government says they are not interested in arresting him. We have heard from the CDF through those tweets which are attributed to him, and of course we know some of the other things that are happening. I want to begin with you, Mr. Ronald Egesa, on this particular issue. What do you think is going on, looking at what is trending now in this post-election period?
Do you want the truth, or you want me to beat about the bush?
The truth and nothing but the truth. But with facts, of course.
Yeah, now, Mary, I've analyzed for you before, and I have told you that this election is between 2 camps. It was a transition election between 2 camps, the Balokole camp and the Bachwezi camp. Now, and these 2 camps are involved in a succession battle. Robert Kyagulanyi is controlled by the Balokole camp. President Museveni favors the Bachwezi camp in terms of succession. So now, the Bachwezi camp, which controls the military, would wish to arrest Robert Kyagulanyi, Honorable. But they are being stopped. In my reading of the situation, they are being stopped by the patriarch of the family, President Museveni, who understands the geopolitical implications of arresting somebody, whether he was a real presidential candidate or was a fake presidential contender. He knows the implications in terms of geopolitics, yeah, of arresting him. So he has stopped them, much as they control the military. So that is why, in my view, that is why the ping pong continues. They say we have gone to his home, he has escaped, blah, 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 because they would want to get him so that the real sponsor comes out of hiding. The real person who is hiding behind Kyagulanyi is from the Balokole camp. So now this is the problem. The whole election was a facade. Yeah, and but the other camp believed, the Balokole camp believed that they could actually use their strength at the election to gain space on the negotiation table in terms of the transition and force some kind of a government of national unity. They knew very well that they cannot, President Museveni cannot allow them to even sniff at victory. But they wanted to display some kind of might at the election and then have better bargaining power when they are invited to the table. Unfortunately, the Bachwezi camp came with the full, full force, yeah, of the military, and they subdued them completely. I'll put that aside. I'll just take you back to a discussion we had here about electoral violence. We did mention that electoral violence, amongst some of the things that it served, was to do voter suppression in urban areas. And I think the numbers now vindicate me. Even going by the numbers, which I don't believe in from the Electoral Commission. I personally don't believe those numbers. But going by those very numbers, Buganda region had the lowest voter turnout. And Buganda region had the biggest, or the worst cases of pre-election violence. Yeah? So which means that the aim of voter suppression was achieved. I think Imam has told us that people were saying, even if we go and vote, what is going to change? They see that the military is all over. It is, the military took over the election, not clandestinely, but they came out overtly and took over the election. They were everywhere in our faces. Do you know what was happening in other parts of Uganda? There was even a curfew. People would not be allowed to move beyond 7 p.m. In other places, beyond 8 p.m. Me, I drove from Kampala towards eastern Uganda on election day. And I found, the places where people could not move out. These are funded boots were patrolling.
Even here in Nansana,
yes.
The people on the streets around Nansana municipality were running up and down.
And the military was in charge. So this is what we are telling you. So that the Bachwezi camp came with full force to show that they are running the show, they are in charge. So their whole aim was to decimate the Balokole camp. What am I trying to submit, Kenneth?
You seem to be painting a picture that...
the picture I'm painting,
that
Kenneth.
Kyagulanyi is not running...
Kyagulanyi was not an opposition candidate, in my view. Kyagulanyi was a proxy of the Balokole camp. He found himself employed by one of the camps in the Museveni succession. Now, this whole game of hiding is an exit strategy. He has to exit that movie. He's trying to find it because now people have moved on. They are looking for school fees. They talk about election has ended. So he will hide until maybe 2-3 weeks down the road. He will come out of hiding. Nobody is going to come to the street to defend Kyagulanyi who has been hiding. When your leader has been hiding, you come to fight for him.
You are so dismissive of what has been happening.
Kyagulanyi is not an
someone
opposition leader.
Who is listening to you, takes your submission and then puts it together, compares it with what has been happening around his home, and his narration of how he left the house and all those kind of things, and they'll say you're not serious.
You expected them to, that I'm not serious. Haven't you read stories of the NRA historicals who tell you that they used to put on Uganda Army uniforms, Uganda UNLA uniforms, yes, go and kill people in Luero and then paint the government army in bad light? So if they were willing to pour blood for purposes of winning the propaganda war, so you think they cannot? Don't they have the same DNA? You see, so this whole thing, you see, people who try to counter that argument that they try to justify Kyagulanyi's credentials by saying that he's being brutalized and what have you. When you sign up to go and act in a violent movie, don't you know that there could be occupational hazards?
All right, let's hear from Imam. Imam, what's your reading of this situation?
Which situation?
Well, the situation we are discussing, we're in a post-election period and one of the presidential candidates is in hiding. But the government says they are not interested in him.
And I have said before, and I want to reiterate it again, that none of the two sides is telling the truth. And you, I think it is you, the press people, who say that whenever there is any cover, the truth is the first victim. Because we are asking, you see, even when, if, let me assume actually, Honorable Kyagulanyi is being hunted, chased, but the videos they are posting, I don't know whether they are AI, are also somehow frustrating.
The videos he's posting.
He's posting.
Okay.
Yeah, it means he is surrounded by people who are very good at high tech. And they are able to catch those scenarios. And even he wants I will be in Nambo's place, and
for dinner.
and the video also comes out. And he is there. So if that is true, then it means nobody is chasing him. Otherwise, they would have laid around the Mukono area.
An ambush.
Because Nambo's place is known. That is number one. Number two, most orders that are coming in to ask us to protest are coming from people who are seated in well-furnished rooms like this one where I am. They have all the free air conditioning, and they are telling us to go and ban. Ban what? And sometimes they are very reckless, because I have had one say, you ban churches, ban mosques, ban schools. Somebody who talks about that, he cannot buy my understanding. There's no way I can actually be ruled into that. What they are forgetting, guerrilla warfare, its purpose ended on the African continent. People used to hide the guerrillas with good spirit and a good thing. I have one of them here next to me.
One of the gorillas.
One of the Kadogos, he was a young man, he will tell you. But that they were being hit. Those who are hiding them, they expected something. 40 years down the road, some have not seen, largely they are complaining. And who has demonstrated that best is the Ruero district. In Ruero, all MPs, local councils, the presidential election. But NRM will tell you, they use this word which I don't want to use, that their crado is Ruero.
I know you don't want to say Mecca.
Yes, it cannot be. Of course, it cannot be. And I cannot vulgarize Mecca.
I understand.
With the crado of NRM. So that is the sign. And I have seen two people speak from Ruero. One is my elder brother, Haji Nadudi, if you have followed his discussion. The other one is somebody who was seeking for Katikamu South constituency, NRM card, and he did not get it. For him, in the press publicly, he said, I am very happy NRM lost. And his grounds are, you know, they were imposing on us people who don't celebrate Christmas, Eid in Ruero. They got somewhat other places. And I am happy that our own who are in opposition have won this. I am happy. He has expressed it, and it is running viral. Therefore, this game, it is actually we are hide and seek. In some other place, when I was analyzing these elections, they give me the answer for this. Because for sure, as he has put it, this election is between two things. Number one is the transition. And transition is for all of us Ugandans. We want to see a transition from one leader to another, whether of the same party or of a different party, but peacefully. Then the other one is succession, which I has talked about. We are struggling internally in NRM, there is also succession. And the best demonstration of that is the way how our so-called big parliamentarians, whether NRM, whether some cabinet ministers, whether opposition, all of them, we are knocked down, hands down. It cannot be a coincidence that Bahati loses, Hamson Obua loses. Those are in cabinet. Betty may not be
among you.
Yes, theirs, but she is in cabinet. Previous cabinet members, Salo Pendi. Other cabinet, Koducho. Sempija coming back and even struggling for a recount, and the recount is turned down. When you just look at it on the surface, you may not know. Then you go, the rebel NRM MPs, Tinkasimire, Sekikubo, Nwagaba Machazi had got out of it. They all lose. You move on. Vocal people, Kadura will come to NRM again. You look, people like Felix Odoi, Felix Otim, Ogong, and Ruhunda in Fort Porto,
Alex,
and others, all knocked down. Then they rush to the opposition. They start from, actually, I'm even told, Tinkasimire, not Tinkasimire, no, Minister of Information.
Chris Barriomos.
Yeah, he survived narrowly. All those people whom they expect that they can, during succession, they can be vocal, except Kadaga, whom they could not manage because they managed to remove her from speakership, from SEC, but politically in her region, she remained a bit strong. To the extent that after election, winning, he invited the Soga group, all the group were saying, Madam, Mama Kadaga. So then they went to opposition. They started from Muijuche, they rushed through that area, they came knocking, went to Kasese, the Centenaries, they moved to the north.
Went to Butambala.
In Buganda, Butambala, Masaka, Rurume, Wikwe, then in Wheres, around here. Then they went to Soga, Katuntu, Segona here, the Mpugas, all of them were knocked down. Then other vocal, Odu,
Jonathan,
that young man.
The best parliamentarian.
Yes, Odu, knocked down. Then you come, you go to Soga, Katuntu, and others. That one is a deliberate move. Okay. And when after now, I have been helped by Egesa. He has put it into a proper perspective. For him, he is very clear. He says,
maybe I could add for you.
All right. We're running out
just
of time.
1 minute.
1
minute.
Very quickly.
NUP, to add to what I told you, NUP is an operation of the Balokole camp. You see the names you are mentioning, some of them were eliminated at the party primaries. That is why they denied people a democratic right to exercise their democratic right at party primaries. They wanted to eliminate certain guys whom they knew they could not control or were vocal, like Imam has been saying.
All right.
The Segoners were victims.
All right. Let's come to Yvonne. Yvonne, very quickly, and then we go to Major Paula, which post-election period, we have a presidential candidate who was going into hiding, and of course you followed the statements. The government says they do not intend to arrest him or prosecute him. What do you think would be going on?
I think listening to my co-guest speaking earlier, it makes me worry about what then becomes of Ugandans as citizens, because majority of the time we are the ones who have been endorsing most of this behavior. They've talked about candidates that were particularly pulled out of positions, but I will assure you that Ugandans were pushing for them to be thrown out because they genuinely believed that these are people that were failing to serve and that there are people that are very disingenuous. We know that Mpuga stole money. That's the first thing someone will tell you the minute they mention his name. But then at the end of the day, are there certain...
How much money?
That's the thing.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
It has never been proven.
So there seems to be so much political play that Ugandans don't seem to understand, and are becoming willful participants. maybe willful or unwillingly, they do not know, or they know. Some know, of course, like my colleagues here, they know what's happening. Majority of us sometimes don't know. We're assuming that what we see and hear is what the actual thing on ground is. So it makes me really worried that, Ugandans are the pawns in this political game, and they're the ones at the end of the day who become the victims of the consequences of what this politics is. There's been so much back and forth between certain systems and Muhoozi, especially with the tweets he puts out, where today he'll mention that, they're at Bobby Wine's tail, tomorrow they're at his home throwing down televisions or undressing Bobby. And it gets very confusing as to the nature of what exactly is happening, especially if we hear conversations around succession, whether he is manufacturing a sort of consent from Ugandans without us knowing particularly what's happening, whether he's manufacturing a sort of consent towards his succession, whether it is in terms of, riling up that anger from Ugandans, where either they take to the streets and they protest. I don't know if that's very likely, or he becomes that influential figure that is constantly at everyone's lips, because we've seen that communication strategy also work with Trump. So it brings around a very big question on what nature of succession then is going to happen when we're going through this transition period. I'll go back to the Muhoozi thing, because there's been so much at play. We've been seeing certain figures also coming out to speak on some of the tweets that he puts out. Bobby Wine says he's in hiding. Nabanja will come and tell you and say no one is looking for Bobby Wine. But Muhoozi said the same thing, but Muhoozi comes and says the opposite thing. So that's the thing we don't understand. Is there a disconnect between the army and some of the arms of government that we have, the political class? Is there a failure to communicate between the two? Are we seeing them disintegrating also in terms of what their unity should be looking like? Or should we assume that because now there's a big transition and succession question, that Muhoozi has taken advantage of all this and is trying to show his might to show that, he can override the institutions that are meant to be doing majority of the communication, that are meant to be doing, that accountability back to the electorate to assure them that either your candidate is safe or is not safe, but there's so much going on. Today, Bobby's on the floor with her. Today, I think I saw her in her slippers or something, and they were in front of her.
Pictures shared by Muhoozi.
By Muhoozi. But then, in the same, I think around the same hour, Nabanja was having an interview with Kamara from NTV, telling him that, listen, that man is safe, he's safe in his home. There's so much disconnection. So it brings around questions of, what is happening in terms of that institutional communication. Do we now look to Muhoozi to communicate? Because even the other day he was telling us that internet is fully back on. I don't know if UCC has been rendered useless, that it's no longer their function. He's only told us that internet has been fully restored. So do we assume that institutions are no longer working, and now the military, through Muhoozi, is communicating all this, and all the power is now in him to determine what is actually happening in this country?
All right, let's hear from Major Paula Awich. Major Paula, maybe you can give us an insight about what could be going on. Given your background, you are a military person, maybe there's a certain level of intelligence that you consume. What is going on? Picking on from what Yvonne has just stated, some level of confusion. Government ministers are saying completely different things, and the CDF is also saying another. And the presidential candidate says he's in hiding.
No, thank you so much. But what is worrying me around this round table, and a round table, in essence, even in peace talks, is meant to show equality. Because if it is a triangle, it's square, the one who sits the other side presumes is a chairman. But a round table is to show that there's equality and at the level of discussion. So this round table, I'm worried about the level of conspiracy theory we are putting out. Because it's really so misleading to a
break those
country.
theories, break those conspiracies.
The conspiracy, this is Baswezi and the Barukole. How are we going to consume all our time in conspiracy theories? It means even as intellectuals, we are going to lose out on truth. There's what is called truth. And truth starts from our real senses. The eyes, the sense of seeing, the sense of touch, the sense of smell, sense of a tongue. These are feelings. These are what translates into truth. But it looks like the way we are talking here, like we don't have senses. We live in a world of dream, in a world of ideal, in a world of conspiracy and this is very misleading. We should try to be honest and attain to the truth. If we really come up to calculate and work out things, it will be very misleading. So I warn ourselves and warn the listeners about indulging and consuming lots of time and evading the fact that there is actually an independent truth in life and in society. And truth starts from the senses that I've seen. And that is why even if you translate it into a voting process, the voter deep in Butambala knows what he eats, where he sleeps, where his children go to school, and that translating to his consciousness on who to vote. But the way we are consumed into conspiracy theory and imagination here, as if there's no truth in life, I'm really disappointed about that.
All right.
Two, I want to comment about the presence of the military. The military was present throughout because earlier on indications to intelligence was that there are people who were thinking that regardless of the results, we should go on insurrection. Insurrection is simply a group of civilians rising up to overthrow a government by illegal means. So all this information was kept about a possibility of insurrection. And this possibility was manifested in a vote, protect, the things which were said in Luganda, it. So the presence of the military, part of it was that, anticipated insurrection. Two is that there were already known reports that some people stop others from voting. They sit in a kakundi of 3 or 4 or 5 and rebuke you. We see you. We know you. You're going to vote for Museveni. They even go as far as saying, we see your nose. So all this was intended to say people should go and vote in peace. And these are part of the reasons why the military was on the street. But no military went to the voting area. Never. Nothing. And again, comparing with the imaginations and the machinations and the conspiracy that I'm saying, if this radio is being heard in other places like Lera, like Apache, like Gulu, these people will think you are living in a different world. They'll even wonder whether you are living in Uganda. Because for them, election went very smoothly. You can even verify now. Pick a district like Otuke. Follow. You said in this village, Kyagulanyi got this. Is that true? Is that what was recorded? It is true and transparent. So the way we are academizing and intellectualizing and mixing up with conspiracies, the ordinary voters will think you live in another world, not this world of Uganda. They'll be shocked at our intellectualism because this thing, the way they sit, is different.
Intellectual arguments are the ones that shape policies that govern people.
So, but you're behaving as if there's no truth. The truth I'm saying, which is a materiality, not an ideality. It is not ideal.
Military is one
it is
of the
ideal. It is not. Now, I hear also arguments that now that we cannot defeat Museveni, and therefore we should argue and look for another alternative. Well, ordinarily I would think, and because this campaign was secretariat-led and structure-led, if we have beaten you to the extent that you have run away from election, so be it. Because you are being beaten to the extent that you say, if this is the level of their organization, if this is how they are organized and perfect and neat, then we shall not maintain money. So we better run away. Don't be a poor loser. Accept to lose, organize yourself, do it another time. In any case, we have the grand norms of the Constitution. It sets out how we do it. Fine. Laws are not hard and frozen. It can be amended or any time, and we are open to that as long as it is the will of the people. But don't look like you are such a cowardly loser that you are beaten and you are running away from election completely, that you can't now manage. No. Then this part of it, this like the conspiracy of saying that there was no election, it was a facade. To me, it looks like, I don't want to use some other words, on my opponent. Because it is unfair to them to think of them that way. And yet these are people who were working day and night with their manifesto, with their moving to consult the people, to go to the campaign. Sometimes they have had alternation or with the state machinery, the police, where even us in the party, we said, no, that is not good. And we thought that even such alternations was actually making us lose votes. So we were even sympathizing with them, because for us as NRM in Plot 10 and the party and the structure, we wanted a fair game. And that's why we have our past manifesto, which we have been periodically monitoring how it has been implemented. And we have the new one, which we are explaining to the people. We have done well. Leave us alone with our opponents. We shall win. And indeed, we delivered 71%. So to say that my colleagues were not serious when they were endeavoring and doing all this is being unfair to my opponents.
All right, Spectrum X on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's take a break now. When we return, we'll sum up discussion on this issue and also move on to our next topic of discussion, where we'll be looking at the composition of Parliament and some of the key issues that have already started emerging even before they take off. Stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90. We continue. We're glad that you're still with us on Spectrum X live on Radio 1 FM 90. Keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. We're reviewing the major events of the week, and on the panel, I have four guests, including Imam Idi Kasozi, lecturer, Islamic University in Uganda. He comes from the Justice Forum Party. Retired Major Awich Pola, Director of External Affairs at the NRM Party Secretariat. Mr. Rona Degeza, business and political strategist. Also in studio, Yvonne Pambara. She's a social justice lawyer and former presidential aspirant. And before we went for a break, Retired Major Pola had raised a number of issues, and I think I need to give a right of reply to people who are around this table. Like he said, we are on a round table, and we need to have dialogue as opposed to taking extreme positions. I want to begin with you, Yvonne. You were shaking your head, and you're still doing so. What exactly is itching you?
I'm still shaking my head because the way Retired Major is trying to make the situation seem is as if it's now our fault that whatever happened. You've talked about the truth. Like my colleague has said, the truth has been captured. It's no longer what it is supposed to be. So I do not know if we can use it as a measuring stick for what we should believe in. As I'll speak for the electorate, that we no longer have trust in anything that the ruling government is doing. So you can't blame us, because this is largely your fault. This is largely your fault. If institutions are not working, and we feel they are not working, we see they are not working, I do not know how much more you're going to go to try and convince us that they are working from your perspective. I mean, that's your job. You have to do it.
My concern was vis-a-vis conspiracy.
I mean, that's what you've left us with, because the truth has been captured by you and your people. That's the truth. So what have you left us with as Ugandans? That is all we are left with. If we cannot rely on the truth that is supposed to come from you. Earlier on, we were talking about how even the communication alone we should be receiving is as confusing as can be. And it's intentionally so, because politically you're behind there playing so many games with Ugandans that we don't understand. Then the only thing you've left Ugandans with are those conspiracy theories, and for them to come up with their own conclusion that either one, what you're doing is not for the good of the people, and we need to be honest about it, that now this has become complete political gimmicks, and that's what it is for the people. And two, the truth can no longer be trusted in this country because you've captured it. It is not the truth anymore. So you can't blame the people for also coming back at you with the conspiracy theories. You are the ones who have manufactured it. Yes.
All right. Egesa.
You see, it is quite interesting that Retired Major dismisses what he calls conspiracy theories. First of all, that is his opinion. It does not certify.
And we respect it.
Yeah, it does not confirm that what we have said are conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. He comes from the military. The military decisions are based on intelligence. Intelligence reports are written after analysis. And when you read analysis that forms the bulk of intelligence reports before they come to their conclusion, they would pass for conspiracy theories. Are you saying the military is run on conspiracy theories? No. They invite you to critical thinking. You join dots. You say, if it ducks like a...
If it comes like a
My conspiracy...
Then it is a duck.
It's a duck.
My conspiracy concern
if it barks like a dog, it is a dog.
I'm coming there. I have analyzed the politics of Kyagulanyi. Even before I got any other evidence, I did analyze the politics of Kyagulanyi. Yeah? Moving against common sense. Dr. Besigye, who has been a 4-time presidential candidate, comes out and tells you it doesn't matter who you put to stand against President Museveni, you will not win an election against President Museveni. So let us now explore other means. And you see, it is even funny that President Museveni is even on record saying he cannot be removed by a ballot. He's an expert in organizing elections. He has confessed himself that he is the chairman Electoral Commission in courts. Yeah, by saying he's the one who organizes what? Elections. Yeah? So these things are on record. Even this very week as we are talking, this very week when he was talking of people who disenfranchised others by saying, Mwemutusibieko akasajja, he directed the police. Under Ugandan law, is he supposed to direct police? The IGP is not supposed to be under the direction of the president, isn't it? But he directed the police that you should arrest those people. You see? Yeah? So he has, these are things which, so what we do he has called it an academic exercise. But for me, I call it a critical thinking exercise. We analyze events, join dots, and arrive at conclusions. So what I'm giving you are conclusions that I have arrived at by analyzing events. When Kyagulanyi was saying protest vote, he made it very clear that he's mobilizing for an insurrection, which meant that his primary objective in going into the election was not to contest in a democratic election. Because he himself had even told us that as long as the Electoral Commission has not changed, he would not contest. Then he came back and he contested. Which means two things. Either he has seen in a way that he can use the election to serve another purpose, or he's being managed and controlled by somebody else. Yeah? Those are the only two possibilities. The third one could be that he's an outright fool. Yeah? Which I don't think. So you observe such a thing, you put it aside. Then you go to another one, and you say, you were warned, you rejected the advice. Yeah, you draw different scenarios.
Okay.
Then you piece together, join the dots, and then come to a conclusion. This guy, you go back to what the lawyers call qui bono. Who benefits? So when you look at the politics of Kyagulanyi, who benefits? Is it the oppressed people of Uganda? No. So therefore he cannot be an opposition candidate. It's only that people don't want to face the truth. It is human nature. People don't want to face the truth. They want to live in denial. But who benefits from the politics of Robert Kyagulanyi in elections? It is the President Museveni hegemony that benefits from the politics of Kyagulanyi. So Kyagulanyi cannot be fighting for the Ugandan people. Yeah? That is what I'm telling you. So these are not conspiracy theories.
You seem to suggest there that President Yoweri Museveni does not represent a certain section of Ugandans. We are in a multi-party system. There are those who are in the opposition, and there are those who are with the
I'm
ruling
not suggesting
party.
that.
So
I'm only
both
saying
Kyagulanyi and Museveni are acting on behalf of the Ugandan people.
Yeah, but the ones of Kyagulanyi are hoodwinked because Kyagulanyi himself is being managed. So as a result, even his followers are being managed. So you are asking, where are we as Ugandans? We are being managed. We are pawns. We are being managed by Museveni's family this way and that way.
All right.
Yeah. So that's the whole point.
Retired Major, little did we know that Kyagulanyi was working for you as the NRM.
No, he's not working for the NRM. Don't
That's
misrepresent me. No, don't misrepresent
What do you mean he's being
He's
managed?
not working for the NRM.
What do you mean he's being
He's
managed?
working for a faction of those involved in succession politics, which I called the Balokole faction.
All right.
And the other faction is the one running the military, which I have called the Bachwezi faction. So I've not said, I don't talk about NRM. NRM does not exist. NRM does not exist in my world. What exists is President Museveni. He's the alpha and the omega of Uganda's politics today, being assisted now by his son.
All right. Let's hear from you, Major Wich, and then we come to Imam Idika. So very quickly, I'm giving you a right to respond.
I really don't think I have much to respond on the conspiracy theory. In law, I would have said, I've stated my case, and I would want the viewers to judge. And that's what we always do, even in court.
You rest your case.
If you think you have made your submission, you leave it to the judge to make a ruling.
All right.
But I still insist that for us to sit here and create imaginations and try to say we are adding dots to this dot, when genuine concerned people who had alternative views to us, in the case of Nup, with very, very qualified persons, formed themselves into an association, made a manifesto, and contested against us. We really had to go at length to explain ourselves to the voters. They did it. And at this point, you rubbish them off as nothing, mere people sent by Barokole group. That is unfair to my opponents. At least for once, I want to be an advocate of
that's what I was going to say.
my opponent.
All right, thank you very much.
But doesn't that worry the listeners?
Yes,
On
very
the
quickly.
issue of President Museveni saying it can't be removed by the ballot, maybe I wonder why the conspiracy theory thinkers could not think deep into this. If somebody says it can't be removed by the ballot, what does it mean? It means do the right thing so that people will continuously vote for you. We have a manifesto that we periodically review.
So he meant he will always win the
I
ballot.
will do good things because if the judgment is voting,
Give us one.
like you have a manifesto.
There's a time we also talked about a quarter
okay,
pin.
2021, for example. You have a manifesto of 2021. You promise PDM, you promise all
What is
everything.
PDM?
Okay, no, leave it. It say other things because a manifesto.
100 million to 10,000
Excuse
people in
me.
a parish.
I,
Each
am,
of
I,
them is
I
only
can pull out.
10,000.
That was just an example. I can pull that out. Remember, manifesto covers all ministries, Ministry of Agriculture, even areas of justice. It covers foreign affairs. It covers everything. Okay. So what Museveni is saying that this holistic manifesto that we promise the people, that is a social contract between NRM and the people. We said on 2021, we said to implement it. 6 months, we go and review. Have we done it? 1 year, we go and review. The second year, and so on and so forth. So that by 2025, 2026, we said, colleagues, how far have we gone in meeting what we set out as a social contract with the people? Now, when you achieve that, as I told you, the ordinary person, the truth is how he feels, where he sleeps, where he eats, where he does what. Then we shall ask that same person, are you okay with us? Can you vote Museveni again? So President Museveni is saying, if it is meeting the aspirations of the people and the judgment is the ballot, I will meet the aspirations and you can't remove me by ballot. But some of you chose to say, I can't be removed by ballot. Then why did we go for election?
Kenneth also asked about quarter pin.
So, what President Museveni was saying, if ballot is only done by meeting the aspirations of the people, Museveni is saying, I will meet the aspirations and people will keep voting me. And they will not, I will not be defeated by the ballot. That's what he meant.
All right. Let's shift our gears and now move into the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. Unless, Imam, you have something to say on what we have just been discussing.
Okay, just a little. You know, I get amazed when I see people struggling to defend the so-called gains and then the aspirations of the people. You see, in social planning, we say social planning means investigating the needs and aspirations of people and how to meet them. And I don't think Ugandans are happy. He fortunately uses good examples. He said, foreign affairs. Look at the performance of our ambassadors. Do you know why it is for? They are no longer ambassadors. They are political appointees. Tell me in which country, out of the so many ambassadors we have, tell me 5 diplomats that have.
One was dancing NRM in Canada. The other one was operating a casino in UAE.
Dubai.
So, because I know a number of them actually. Some of them my students, whom I could not even recommend to be the ambassadors.
There are DCs or ambassadors.
Yeah. That is one. To agriculture you are talking about. I am fortunate I am in that one. Where are we? Are we proud of our agriculture? When 3 weeks ago, a pineapple was going for 8,000 shillings. Today, 7 pineapples for 10,000. You see? The reason, because the market, the agriculture sphere is not well managed. And therefore, we put in a lot of effort, our yields don't make any sense. Then if you go to health, whoever gets sick here, I know because I am always a fundraiser to enable our people go for treatment. Education, the results are out today. Already people are saying, what is this? What is happening? Meaning that, I think it was African Union which sat and they said, where should be the priority? Education, agriculture, health. I am not proud of any of those in this country. And I am involved in all of them because I am a chairman of board for a hospital. I am chairman of several school management committees and school boards of governors. Therefore, at least I access what is going on. Then for agriculture, I am personally a commercial farmer, but I know the challenges we are facing. So that's what I can say. That I think my sister here, or my daughter, her age, this daughter of mine, put it very well. The reason, you see, we have been hoodwinked to the extent whereby, actually, somewhere I said, President Museveni plays it smart by ensuring that he can tell you that if they say, where is mine, I must ensure that he fails, so that all those who thought was mine, they get comfortable. That asinga yabadde wowe yalibadde yayiseemu. Okitegedde. Two, this business of
into
yes, the last one, so that we go to the next step, is the way of ensuring that they will spread a rumor against your own, and you turn against them, and people believe. Unfortunately, as I told you, these days I envy the ignorant, because they are the ones who are very easily manipulated into that style. I envy them.
All right.
Because for them, they consume everything that comes,
All right.
and they are comfortable.
All right. If I'm staying with you, you lead us in this discussion on the quality of the 12th Parliament, the Parliament we are likely to have. You have looked at how the Parliament is composed. NRM maintain majority, followed by independents. NUP comes in, and these other political parties also come in. And a number of issues have already started coming out, even before the MPs have taken off.
The bad thing you biased me in your statement here. You said now they will be given 315 million for vehicles. That is dangerous to me already.
It was already inciting
Exactly, because and on the same day you are telling me this.
I was hoping this particular discussion will not have any conspiracy.
No, a tweet comes from Makerere University, and they are saying the 76 graduation will not be there because there is no funds. And we want to give MPs whom we are going to pay salary vehicles to the tune of 315 million. Meaning, if it is true, increase it by 57.5%. From 200 million to 315, there is an increment of 57.5%.
Inflation, price of
what?
commodities.
Which commodities?
Vehicles have become expensive.
One-sided for political people. Now that one actually...
When the dollar has become actually cheaper than it was in 2021.
Exactly. And it has been steady around the same.
No, but at this time, 2021, the
Yes.
dollar was around 3,700.
Yes.
All right, Imam.
Now, what I wanted to say, that these people, I cannot judge all of them at a go. But in view of what I said in the beginning, I am worried about the Parliament. Because, as you know, I have told you how many have dropped. Then in this, your thing, which you called 60%, or which is about 70 in some places, dropout.
Attrition.
It means, and who exited most? The real parliamentarians. The 50 of them also, who are always able to go in the floor of Parliament. So some people say you cannot judge, is it a cock when before it does what? I don't know, I have forgotten the adage. But what I'm thinking, I go by the tradition of the Prophet. The Prophet said that every generation that will come after the other will be worse. So I don't expect the play with Parliament to excel beyond that. As I have said it before, that I have looked at the Hansard of the 60s, where the majority of the MPs were
Grade three
primary
teachers.
teachers.
Grade 3, grade 2.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. Actually, some of them P6 vernacular teachers.
Grade 2.
Their performance, there's no way I can compare with this one that is full of what? So the purpose of this is enticing them. And therefore, if it is true that they are going to increase their vehicle, whatever, and other emoluments, it is already a sign that that's why they prepared them in advance, so that they get those whom they can easily influence. I want you to imagine somebody whose earning was around 1 million or 2 million a month, and now she's going to earn 20 million plus, and plus this one. That therefore shows they are already biasing them, and therefore, for those people who are thinking that they are going to rely on these politicians who are coming to Parliament, I pity them. That's why I have stated. That's why actually I have advised all of you are weak-hearted. Those who say, hey, if you are sad that the person you voted for did not go through, and therefore you decided not to go for the next round of election that was coming, you better exit politics. Actually, we need to be now voting for you, because it is because of that. Can you imagine?
You have my vote.
Yes, because Kampala, presidential was 22. Okay? Local government, mayor and the like, less than 15. It's worried, because I counted that from about 6 or 7 polling stations, where I found that in nowhere they exceeded 10% of those people who participated in the what?
In
Physical appearance, because I was there and I was asking how many do you have on the register? 600. How many have voted? 45. What is the time? 3:30 p.m. It is unfortunate. So that means, therefore, the weak-hearted, if you don't want to die quickly, run away from politics and allow us to vote for you.
All right.
You will have better results.
All right.
I've given you my vote.
Major Awich, Parliament.
Parliament. First of all, I will squarely answer Parliament, but there's a comment I may not get a chance to reply. Imam is saying that when I gave the holistic nature of our manifesto, he singled out ministries, but I would like to say that the ministries he mentioned, like agriculture, we are now among the world best export of coffee. Ministry of Health, our life expectancy has moved from 47 to 65. So there are many indicators to prove those ministries are doing well. But notwithstanding challenges, we definitely have challenges. If there was health can be preventive, because and you only test it by the longevity of life. You can see that even by World Health Research, we are living longer.
But
than
the life
before.
should be happy, not the one we are living.
Hey, by the way, Uganda is the happiest in East Africa. There is also a research done, if you're talking about happiness. Now, in Parliament, Kenneth, there has been a lot of debate about Parliament, even before this election. Some people feel there is need for a review and overhauling in terms of the reduction in the size that some people feel it is big, but some people feel that no, let people be represented. The cost of representation of democracy, we shall manage it. So there's that school of thought still varying. But for us in NRM, to raise the competence of Parliament, we tried a lot in internal democracy. You realize that NRM primary election is almost as competitive as final. Some people even opted out of it, even when the NRM. It turns out to be very costly and very competitive. So for us, we thought at the primary level, we would pick our best cadres to carry the flag, so that in the end, not only do they have a chance of winning, parliament itself, but also having quality representation in parliament. So we tried that. Of course, now, one other thing that is affecting the quality of this parliament is the cost of election. Some members of parliament have used up to R1 billion shillings, and that would mean, therefore, it affects qualitative incoming or potential legislators. So if you're competently qualified and yet the thing needs a lot of money, it reduces quality. So that is also...
And what is the role
so-
of a political party
so,
there?
there is also a feeling that emoluments should actually be reduced, because people seem to be thinking that why can't these people work for the good of the people? Because there is a presumption in some jurisdiction is that before you become a representative at that level, you must have achieved so much that you can actually drive yourself to parliament, that you can actually be well off, than going as income earning in parliament. So all these factors, it crystallizes to what will come out of this quality. Of course, as Imam said, we may not judge them up to before we see their performance, but all these factors that I've mentioned will contribute to the quality of the legislature. It has been an ongoing debate, and many of us feel it, but somehow when it comes, it is too late, and you see the legislators who cannot competently even do a research on the subject matter on the table, and therefore cannot even competently submit on it, and that really is unfair to the people he's representing. So let's wait and see.
All right.
Give them the
Very quickly before we go for a break, on the leadership of the House, is it true that the Central Executive Committee of the NRM has already ring-fenced the position for the incumbent Speaker Anita Mong and Thomas Tayewa?
I sit on plot 10, but yesterday I was in Rua because we had gone to see our flag bearer for Northern Youth, and which I am lucky that we scored the victory in the north for the flag bearer. So I wasn't there that day when the SEC sat, but I also got from media information, but I'll get more detail later as to the status, what it is in SEC now. Normally we have SEC minutes, but we also have press release. There's always a communication to the public that is issued after the SEC meeting.
Did the
So
SEC sit?
it's SEC sat, yes.
Then it is true.
It's SEC sat. So I need to get that communication. That communication is always issued to the public. So I have not seen. So I can't authoritatively say true or not, but I have seen it in the media.
All right, Spectrum Extra on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's go for a break now. When we return, we'll hear from Mr. Ronald Egesa and Ms. Yvonne Pambara, and then sample your comments. Stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90 will continue after this break. Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum Extra live on Radio 1 FM 90, reviewing major events of the week. Right now, we are looking at the composition of Parliament and what it actually means. I have a panel of 4. Imam Eid Kasozi, lecturer at Islamic University in Uganda. He comes from the Justice Forum Party. Retired Major Paul Awich is the Director of External Affairs at the NRM Party Secretariat. I have Ms. Yvonne Pambara, social justice lawyer, and she's also a former presidential aspirant. And coming to the mic now is Mr. Leonard Egesa, who is a business and political strategist. Mr. Egesa, on the quality and the composition of Parliament.
Before I go to talk about the quality and composition of Parliament, I need to mention
Please,
that...
please don't go back to the conspiracy.
You know, you see a difference, eh? He's an active politician. She's an active politician. He's an academic. Yeah? I am a strategist. Part of strategy, the biggest part of strategy is analysis.
In bed with politicians.
You see? Yeah? No,
So
I can tolerate any politician.
Mm.
Either side. I'm non-aligned in terms of politics. So the thing is this. The longevity of President Museveni has helped us to disabuse ourselves of a pseudo-democracy that we have here. How? President Museveni has successfully demystified the constitution. He has successfully demystified institutions including parliament, judiciary. Yeah? He has successfully demystified elections as a means of changing government. So every key tenet of democracy as it should be, he has successfully demystified it because of his long stay in power. So now that I have told you that Parliament has been demystified, First of all, if I asked you, Kenneth, if we were to turn the tables the other way around, if I asked you what are the 3 major accomplishments of the 11th Parliament that is about to end, are you able to tell me off head?
Yes, I can. At least they passed more bills than the previous parliament.
Give me 3 bills that critically change the life of Ugandans.
That's another matter.
So you see, so now you have also answered like a politician. So the idea is that Parliament is no longer relevant in the Ugandan political sphere. So Parliament was demystified, it was emasculated, it was castrated. So with the castrated Parliament, what is left of Uganda's politics? President Museveni. He's the alpha and the omega. What he wants to use Parliament for, he will use. What he doesn't want, he will not use. So, does it then make sense for me to discuss the quality of Parliament? I don't think so. Yeah? Why? Because at the end of the day, the puppeteer is President Museveni.
So you're
that is why you see, in fact, you see what is funny. Even before they are sworn in, the Central Executive Committee of the NRM, like I mentioned, the NRM is President Museveni and the other way around. So the Central Executive Committee sits. The press reports have told us that President Museveni told the SEC that these people have been very good at decimating the opposition. So therefore they should be given another chance. Meaning, so he's actually dictating the show in the party. He's dictating the show in Parliament. So he has already imposed a speaker and a deputy speaker on the Parliament even before parliamentarians are sworn in. Yet the parliamentarians are supposed to come and exercise their democratic right.
When men are not yet gazetted.
Exactly, men are not even gazetted. So which means we are in President Museveni's monarchy. Uganda is no longer a republic. It is a monarchy of President Museveni. Here, in fact, President Museveni will be studied in times to come.
We have a republic
as a modern monarch.
Party politics, political parties can take positions.
President Museveni is a modern monarch.
Run their affairs.
No, you see, now,
so
now
if NRM says that these are our best candidates, you cannot actually blame them, can you?
You see, the thing is this. You are living in a fictitious Uganda. Me, I'm living in a real Uganda.
We are in a real Uganda.
In a real Uganda.
I don't live in a
real Uganda, what Museveni wants goes. What he doesn't want does not go. When he wanted to change the constitution and remove age limits to enable him to continue with his power, his stay in power, he brought the military and they caned those MPs to pulp. They beat them to pulp and the law was changed.
He brought a bill. A bill was brought in.
Was Parliament raided by the military?
There were skirmishes in the house.
Okay. No, let's ask the members on this panel. Did the military raid Parliament, yes or no?
There were people in civilian clothes.
These were military. No, they were not in civilian. No, there were those who were in civilian clothes, but they were also military men. General Don Nabasa then, I think, he appeared in military fatigue, commanding the operation at Parliament. He was from SFC. He wasn't putting on civilian clothing. There were some who were in civilian clothing, but it was a military operation. The speaker, Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, was seated there, fearful like a child before the principal.
You said Major General. Now he's a parliamentarian.
Now he has been elected, actually. He's going in the same house which he beat up to pulp.
All right, Yvonne, let's hear your thoughts on the Parliament, on the 12th Parliament.
Very interesting hearing the views of my colleague. I think I will recall a statement Museveni once said shortly before he talked about the fact that the ballot cannot remove him from power. He said that he would chew opposition
like
a sambusa.
Samosa.
So at times I wonder whether Ugandans have sat down to reflect on what that communication meant, or if we've continued to also willingly participate in something that is majorly his backyard politics. But it's very worrying. In the recently concluded parliamentary elections especially, NRM has taken the majority again, but also we've seen that the opposition seats have reduced, and of course they've largely been taken by independents. Majority of the independents are NRM leaning, and it's very worrying because then the nature of the legislative agenda will largely lean towards what the executive priorities are, and it's our worry. But I don't know to what extent it's our worry, because we've also seen sometimes that majority of opposition has not really played a very strong role when it comes to that legislative arm. I recall the UPDF Act, and it's one thing that still angers me up to today, that instead of opposition sitting down on that floor of parliament to reject the passing of that amendment, that they walked out. So also at times when we are talking about a majority of these seats, of parliamentary seats going to NRM, when we're trying to compare it to the role that opposition is supposed to play in terms of oversight of the executive, then a majority of these questions and majority of what this conversation has been comes into play if we genuinely have an opposition that is playing the role it's supposed to be playing at the legislative arm, or if Museveni has manufactured it to that extent that majority of us are just pawns playing politics in his backyard like he wants it to be. Secondly, I think it was recently, was it yesterday when UPDF
yesterday when they
elected external representatives? Again, there's a very huge question around so many representation seats of the military in parliament, especially if we're supposed to be having an independent parliament and we know the role that the military has been playing in Uganda's politics. Then what's the intention of having all those seats of the military in parliament? What role does it play? Is it oversight to see that, to make sure that they are keeping parliament aligned to what the executive agenda is?
A reminder that the ultimate habitat
of power is that particular executive person that we've been discussing. So it's also a huge question that we need to constantly debate, especially now that we're moving, or we've already been entrenched into military rule, and we are seeing it taking more and more effect in terms of how they control majority of the sectors in this country, not just politics, but the fact that majority of the sectors are also becoming largely militarized. So now do they sit there to make sure that their agenda is passed at the executive? The 12th Parliament, the perception has largely become very questionable, and it's because of the nature of what elections have been. If we are questioning the legitimacy of these elections, and we're also questioning the legitimacy of what the process has been, then the 12th Parliament in total is questionable as well. It's questionable as well because majority of Ugandans complain that they feel the elections were rigged, even up to parliamentary level. And so it brings us to that question that even these people were sent into parliament, are they genuine people that were sent by the electorate? Are they people, again, that were, fighting the politics of what is on ground, using money, using violence, using whatnot to make sure they put themselves in those legislative seats? Or is it a genuine representation of what the people have sent out there? So the perception is very shaky. And from the electorate, I want to assure Ugandans that we are not sure what is going to come out of this 12th Parliament, because we don't trust what came out of the election process. With the endorsements of and speculations of who the speakers are, I remember Chris Badiomusi recently, I think it was yesterday, he questioned how the process had come to, the endorsement of the two speakers, Tayebwa and Among, because we've not yet sworn in members of parliament, and so what gives the CEC that authority to endorse? Yes. What gives them that authority to endorse who they are determining, should be running for speakership? Or is this again some of the political games that they've been playing at large to get us talking, and yet there's something else that they are planning for Ugandans? So there's a lot at play.
All right. Now let's take in the feedback that is coming in from the listeners. They have been listening to us and share their thoughts by the WhatsApp line 0703-090. Thanks for the show. Please let us stop creating conspiracy theories. We have all seen sorts of evils happening to Bobby Wine because at one time he survived death in Arua. Throughout his campaign, he has been brutalized by security forces to the extent of losing his supporters in the elections of 2021. Let's look at the CDF, who is threatening to arrest him without giving any sensible and serious reason. He's reckless, setting this country ablaze by pointing out and igniting genocide through his ridiculous posts. Kindly, as the former soldier in the studio, to react on the posts of the CDF. John Musanganda writes in from East Singila says, Mr. Lukwago, thanks for the program. My question goes to your guest who has specialized in analyzing Kyagulanyi's politics. Mr. Analyzer, what have you added to the struggle? Please, can you give the disgruntled Ugandans a way out other than undermining those trying? Good evening, Spectrum Extra. Thanks for the show. My comments on the topic at hand. The biggest problem is not Museveni and thus the NRM per se. It's a succession question. Mr. Museveni's continue being sketchy on this political question, meaning without Museveni, this country is suicidal, as made to believe. Then secondly, Honorable Kyagulanyi's situation yields political mileage is as a result of the reasons above, not because they love him, but because he blends as a generational challenger, even when he lacks a clear political agenda as a better alternative. The reasons why most Ugandans felt better to stay with the devil they know than the angel they see with horns, I can assure you come 2031, Museveni will be on the ballot again. The alleged 316 million to the incoming MPs is a roller coaster and a litmus test for the newcomers, since they used to criticize the predecessors who actually participated in passing the same budget. What a trap for them. From the very word go, they are already compromised. In Uganda, you are crying and laughing at the same time. The only difference is the similarity with the 11th parliament, even worse. That's a comment from Kamungo Fred Keta, listening in from Chira municipality. Keno, thanks for the program. Charles in Wakiso Town Council, we lost sense of shame completely. The propagandists have mastered the art of treachery. Yesterday, I watched a minister tell Samuju in the face that he solicited the bribe from the state to be beaten during Tojikwatako. Very shameful. Now, this friend of mine, the retired major, adds salt into the wounds. Spectrum Extra, it seems the likes of Major Awich are the ones who don't live in Uganda. In Bukedia County and Soroti City, there was no voting. NRM goons protected by police UPDF took over polling stations, stuffing ballot boxes in support of NRM candidates. That's a comment from Martin, listening in from Soroti. Good evening, Spectrum Extra. My name is Julie from Muntinda. Retired Major Awich is speaking so defensively, and that says so much about him and his party's 71% win. Thanks for the show. The following is paramount. A constitutional review, reducing MPs to 60 or less, keep the army out of election, advocate for leaders and not dealers. For God and my country. That's a comment from Kasango, who is listening to us. Spectrum Extra, somebody is listening in from Mbale, says, kindly remind the retired major from the northern part of our country to watch the documentary called The Silent Genocide in Northern Uganda on YouTube, because he's a manipulated intellectual defending his own enemies. That's another comment there. Spectrum Extra, that soldier is very dishonest. Everybody saw violence meted at NUP in Gulu and the massive ballot staffing in various areas. He's not professional and should retire to his village. Says very embarrassing. That's a comment that comes in from Emmanuel. Kaumadigo in Mitiana writes and says, good evening, Spectrum Extra, and Happy New Year. Major Awich, if your NRM is that strong as you claim, explain to listeners why on election day NRM schemes to arrest its opponents, agents, and pushing them off polling stations and their DRA forms confiscated. And then we have another comment here. Those who thought they missed the December 10th elections of 1980, you have now seen a slightly worse one. Names withheld, too many abductions. That's what he says. I don't understand how regime apologists think. The way this guy, other than Imam, talks makes you think he is one of them. But he will be eliminated in the end. Sometimes you have to sleep angry before you realize there is a famine in the area. If they are not looking for him, why did they invade Honorable Kyagulanyi's home, vandalize it, sexually assault his wife, and have the audacity to photograph her naked? That is A.P. Gerard, listening in from Maya. Good evening, Spectrum Extra. Moffat here in Kampala. These NRM people are empty but tactfully ride on the emotional protocol of obligatory happiness. If they believe they are genuinely popular, why are they fabricating smiles about their uncelebrated win? Why is Kenneth not seeing the outrageous but comfortable shared lie? Those people know and silently agree not to question whether those smiles are genuine or mechanical. Why are they interested to force mechanical hurried hugs of saying this election has passed and life should go on? Then we have another comment. Chizito also writes and said presidential election is just usual circus. Museveni can win 2 years before voting. Yeah, I think next time we should vote only for MPs. They should forgive Bobby Wine. Ronald Kamsime writes in and says, I am ashamed by the moral degeneration and lack of sense of Ubuntu. Ubuntu Bulamu, that Museveni people have. You kill people and use the security to intimidate people and stuff ballots. Just go and talk to people who voted around military and security installations and residences. They took over polling stations and stuffed ballots as much as they wished. I would request that they go and keep quiet in their houses, eat our tax money, because the more we hear them, we get more annoyed. Then another comment: the selection was perfect for His Excellency Museveni because someone could be told your name has letter D, go to another polling station. Just imagine such a mess. Shame upon the NRM government. That's a comment from Amolo Charles, listening in from Ginger. We need a referendum and electoral reforms immediately today, not tomorrow. The opposition must stop being greedy, join hands and form one party. That's Sam Okello, listening in from Komi. Well, a number of comments continue to come in. Chambade, a student of journalism and mass communication, writes in and says they just concluded elections in Uganda, once again raised fundamental questions about the relevance of the electoral process under the current political arrangement. Elections remain largely symbolic, so as long as His Excellency Yoweri Museveni continues to dominate the political landscape without genuine democratic competition. History is instructive. President Museveni participated in the 1980 elections, which he later cited as justification for taking up arms, arguing that the process was flawed. Ironically, decades later, similar grievances persist, yet power remains firmly entrenched through coercive and militarized means other than the free will of the electorate. Until institutions are independent, the rule of law is respected and leadership transition is possible. Elections risk being reduced to a ritual other than a true democratic exercise. Then lastly but not least, good evening, Spectrum Xtra. The Electoral Commission has more than one voters register. In 2001 in Soroti, after realizing the majority were for Dr. Besigye, we got another register with our names missing on the election day. But during verification, our names were there. If His Excellency Museveni can really win free and fair selection, why did they switch off the internet and count votes in a few areas? Let's wait for more taxes tomorrow. Did Dr. Bote teargas Museveni for having to run to the bush? That's Mawa Amaza there with that question. That's a recap of the comments that are coming in from the listener, and I want to give an opportunity to retired Major Which a number of comments were directed at you. If you can respond, make your closing remarks, then we'll also hear from the other people in studio. Retired Major Which.
No, it's their right to comment. It's not having a bad case or good, because, for example, the beginning one was warning you against conspiracy. That was number one. That was number one of the whole thing, was warning you against conspiracy. But to the viewers and their comments, is that I thank them for their comments, only that we should be civilized and be not abusive. But it's good for you to disagree with me about somebody who says retirement. I'm retired from the army, but I'm an advocate and I have a law firm. I have a practicing certificate. So if you wanted me to retire to go to the village, it can't be, because I have a law firm in Kampala which I can resort to legal practice and do. So, but all in all, your views are good, and I just wish you put it in a respectful way. Even if my friend has a conspiracy theory, you really don't put it in a disrespectful way. So it's okay to say that is all right. Thank them so much.
Your closing remarks, because we are coming to the end of this discussion. What do you see ahead?
My closing remarks is that we have gone through this election, and here and in other forums we have been saying issues have been said. You have done poorly in this, you have done poorly in agriculture, you have done poorly in health, you have done whatever it is. But we said, to the best of our opinion or our views, we have done well. And therefore time will come when we shall go to the voters and explain. And the voters will decide. They are the judges. And indeed, I'm glad they have judged. The 71% has come. I'm happy about it. I thank Ugandans so much. And as I said earlier, I just hope that we now continue to live in peace with my opponents whom we are contesting against, the NUP and other parties, so that we meet and greet. On Parliament, we give them the benefit of the doubt. We see how they will perform. But I hope that they'll come with a view to be competent in legislative matters.
All right. Imam Idkasozu, very quickly, your closing remarks?
My closing remarks, I think, should go to those that won now. irrespective of what form they use to win.
Mm.
These people that are arrested during the elections must be released, actually should be released immediately. And then let us be helped by the security people to know where the two other vice presidents of NUP, where they are. At least Mwanga, we are aware, he's in prison. Let them also quickly process his case, if it is there, so that the truth is known and justice is given. Then these other people we call foot soldiers, please release. We are aware several of them are really arrested. A young man called Chalenga at Bunga was picked after the elections. Then I know some young people whose borders, one border, another one just his what? His vehicle is taken just because it had a portrait of Kyagulanyi or Nup. So I am calling upon the Inspector General of the Police that all those things detained at your police stations, verify and release them so that the people out there can go and survive as we prepare to go for the beginning of the new year and the new term in the education system.
Mr. Leonard Okello. Leonard,
I have an uncle called Okello. You know, the interesting bit about this election has been that both sides, the victors and the purported losers, hate the election exercise. Both sides don't wish to repeat the election in its current form. In fact, to prove that, you are going to see the NRM now vouching for a parliamentary system, because they also don't like having a hollow victory. So that's what I have seen coming out of this election, that the 71% is hollow, it's not felt. So they also want to run away from it. Going forward, you're going to see in this coming term of parliament, they will start vouching for parliamentary democracy.
So the longer awaited what constitutional
yes,
will come.
It is going to come.
Yeah, and the electoral what?
And the intended beneficiaries have made sure that they kick out the parliamentarians who disturb them and bring in those the ones you are talking about who will facilitate that process. So that is what I'm seeing. So both sides have realized that this whole election thing, the way it has been done, has run its course. Now it is time to change, have some kind of reform.
all right. Yvonne Pambara, you have the last say on the show today.
Well, my call is definitely to the president, that he has gotten his way, he has won. It's time he releases Ugandans.
What do you mean
gives
he has
us some
gotten
peace.
his way?
Let's be honest. This is not the outcome that Ugandans were looking forward to, but it's the outcome we've got.
When you go into an election, you know you will win or lose. That's what they tell us.
They started by blocking
I mean, I went through that system and I know what was done. So
they started by rejecting her signatures.
All right.
So it's a call, honestly, now that, we've cleared the most hectic part of the election, that's the majority of Ugandans who have been detained, arrested, thrown in jail are released, because majority of the charges are trumped up charges. They are not genuine charges. Some are extremely old and colonial, so they do not make sense. So my call to action would be that now that we've gone through this process and we've survived, majority of us have survived it, can majority of these political prisoners please be released so that Uganda can go back to bearing with what is at stake. We can go back to our normal lives.
Right.
Most of our people have been thrown in jail, can come out. Chivumbi, honestly, we do not know why he's there, but we need most of them released. We need Kanokiza Besigye out. His health is deteriorating, so it's very important that
All right, I must thank you,
Pick it up,
gentlemen and lady, for sparing your time to come here to discuss these very important issues. I want also to thank the listeners for tuning in and contributing to this discussion. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90 because we continue with our quality programming. But from me and the team here in studio, we wish you a good weekend.